There's still radio silence from Dillian Whyte, but somehow his verbal exchanges with Tyson Fury, at least online exchanges with Tyson Fury, have recently come back to the fore, this time on TalkSport. There was this claim a couple years ago now from Dillian Whyte that he dropped Tyson Fury several times in sparring and had him sobbing on the canvas. Tyson Fury has once again refuted this claim. But to quote Dillian Whyte again, this was in 2020, he said, quote, he was getting ready to fight David Haye and his trainer at the time was trying to get him to walk me down and pressure me like he would Haye. He was frustrated that day because I kept hitting him, countering him, and dropping him. I dropped him twice that day, so he was just frustrated and he was sobbing. And then his coach cussed him and said, listen, if that's what you're doing here now, David Haye is going to knock you out, so get up and get on with it. And Tyson Fury responded and said, and this is recently, he was speaking to BT Sport, I've sparred Dillian Whyte many, many times, and every single time I used him as a punching bag. There were times when he couldn't defend himself, and there was a time where we had to stop sparring and Huey had to spar him, my cousin Huey instead. Huey was about 18 at the time, and he used to batter him. All these stories of him knocking me down 25 times in sparring, highly unlikely anyone believes that rubbish. There's no substance to it. Knocking me down umpteen times and all that. Just say he did knock me down 8 times in sparring. We all know sparring ain't fighting, is it? How many times have you seen people in the gym get absolutely busted up and then on fight night, they box like Sugar Ray Leonard? Sometimes you don't have good days in the gym, bad days, whatever, but sparring ain't fighting. And just for the record, he never knocked me down once. I've never been knocked down in a spar, ever. All right, those are the words of Tyson Fury. Believe who you, I guess, want to believe, who you think you can believe. Personally, I think that I believe both of them, but I'm not so sure about Tyson Fury never being dropped in sparring. I'm sure he's been dropped in sparring. When I say I believe both of them, I do believe Tyson Fury when he says he's schooled Dillian Whyte in sparring before, words to that effect. And I do believe him when he said that there was a time that they had to stop the spar and Dillian Whyte had to spar Huey Fury instead. Now, perhaps Dillian Whyte would have a different view on why the spar was stopped and why the sparring partners were switched around, because Tyson Fury is making out as though Dillian Whyte couldn't defend himself and he was getting so badly schooled or beaten up that they had to put him in with a lesser fighter and a young Huey Fury at the time. Maybe Dillian Whyte's got a different recollection of why that happened. But I also believe that Dillian Whyte did drop Tyson Fury. And if you look at Tyson Fury's response, where he said, first of all, he's exaggerating, saying, oh, all this 25 times knocked me down. No, Dillian Whyte said he dropped you twice. He never said 25 times. What are you exaggerating for? You know, that to me is suspicious that he's started doing all this exaggeration because he's trying to make it sound ridiculous. Yes, oh, 25 times he dropped me. No, he only said he dropped you twice. What's all the 25 times about? Trying to make it sound, well, he says highly unlikely, right? That anyone believes that rubbish. Well, yeah, nobody would believe he knocked you down 25 times. But that's not the claim. The claim is that he knocked you down twice. So, yeah, personally, I believe it. But how much of a bearing will that have on their actual fight? Probably not much. I think Tyson Fury has improved massively. Dillian Whyte has improved too. But Dillian Whyte is not as athletic as he was back in the days when they were training together. And you can just look at these pictures here. Dillian Whyte's physique there next to Tyson Fury, his physique here. Look, Dillian Whyte's got a six-pack here next to a young Tyson Fury. Dillian Whyte was able to move around the ring a lot faster back then. Perhaps he wasn't as good in terms of his overall boxing development and his technique and so on, but he was definitely faster and he was definitely more fleet of foot and therefore able to close down the distance much quicker back then than he is now. And I think that's going to be crucial in the fight. Dillian Whyte will have to close down the distance quickly. If Tyson Fury tries to walk him down, remember I said this in previous videos, if Tyson Fury tries to walk Dillian Whyte down like he did Deontay Wilder, that's where he gives Dillian Whyte opportunities to hit him with big shots. And according to Dillian Whyte, that's what happened in that spar where he was trying to walk Dillian Whyte down, because that apparently was going to be the strategy against David Haye, trying to walk him down, and he kept getting countered and dropped. And to me, it has a ring of truth to it. You know, I can imagine Peter Fury saying the things that Dillian Whyte claims he said to Tyson Fury when Fury was on the floor sobbing and all that kind of stuff. If this is what you're going to do here, you know, you'll get destroyed by Haye, basically. I can imagine Peter Fury saying that to him and telling him to get up and man up and what have you. Tyson Fury can be an emotional character. You know, he can be down, as we all know, and so on. And he comes back from those things, of course, right? But again, it just has a ring of truth to me. But yeah, getting back to the fight itself, I think Dillian Whyte will take confidence. I'm sure he'll take confidence from the spars they had. I'm sure Tyson Fury will take a certain amount of confidence from the spars they had. But ultimately, as they stand right now as fighters, I find it difficult in my head to pick Dillian Whyte. I find that difficult. I think that Tyson Fury has more scope for victory here. He can apply different tactics and still win. I mean, even if Tyson Fury decides to go forward and fight the way he did against Wilder, I think it's dangerous for him to do that, and I think he gives Dillian Whyte a much better chance of winning if he does. But I still wouldn't put it past Tyson Fury winning in that style. You know, I still wouldn't put it past Tyson Fury just going all out and coming out on top. Don't get it twisted. As I say, he's giving Dillian Whyte a chance to come out on top in that scenario. But I think for Tyson Fury, there's more than one way to skin a cat here. I think ideally, he needs to keep Dillian Whyte at length, frustrate him in a similar fashion to how he did with Derek Chisora in their rematch. Frustrate him, bust him up, and then maybe take him out late or win handily on points. I think that is the most sensible way for Tyson Fury to go about it. But if he wants to go hell for leather, I think he could win that way too, but it's definitely a lot more risky. Anyway, before I start going round in circles, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about this fight. And obviously, the reason that this story is coming up again is because Dillian Whyte hasn't been participating in the promotion. I have to laugh at Frank Warren, acting like it doesn't matter that Dillian Whyte didn't turn up to the press conference and isn't taking part in the promotion. If it didn't matter, Frank Warren wouldn't be angry about it. You know, of course it matters. Now, that doesn't mean that the ticket sales have still not gone well. That doesn't mean that the pay-per-view still won't sell, because you can do well regardless. The fact is, you do even better if Dillian Whyte was actively promoting the fight. That's the key. You do even better. And when you've put up all this money, however much it actually is, whether it's $40 million, $30 million, whatever the true figure is in terms of what they're paying the fighters, you want to absolutely maximize revenue. You definitely want to do that when you've put up that kind of dough, right? So that's why he's angry with Dillian Whyte. That's why he's upset that he didn't turn up to the press conference. So, you know, that is what that is. Let me know how you feel about all this. And like I say, the reason that this story, as far as I could see, has come up is to help in the promotion. So, yeah.